So let's say Santa's come along and he's brought you something like this. You're ready to head out and do your first avalanche course. Well, what do you need to know about what's inside this box before you head out on that course? Let's dive in. So hello and welcome back to this channel, and this video is sponsored by Mammut. Now Mammut were kind enough to send me this package, which is the Mammut Pro Light 280 package, and inside here there's a Barryvox S2 transceiver, a 280cm speed lock probe, and an Alligator Pro Light shovel. Now if you turned up with this kit on one of my avalanche courses, I'd be pretty stoked. This is exactly what I think most people should have for backcountry skiing. But you might have also bought a different setup, or maybe you've been building your setup from second-hand gear or whatever. Essentially, this is the bare minimum that you need for avalanche safety equipment: a transceiver, a shovel, and a probe. This isn't really a review video talking about this specific stuff, but it's more talking about how we're going to get it set up so it's easy to use and we can start practicing with it out in the field. So inside the box, the first thing that's probably going to catch your attention is the shovel. Now this is the type of shovel that I think most people should have for backcountry skiing. Let's just briefly talk about the features of this. Now this is an aluminium shovel blade, and this is a good size for an avalanche shovel. It's not too big and it's not too small. The handle itself is telescopic, so it's going to give you a little bit more kind of reach and a bit more usability when you're digging somebody out. Not really much more to say about that. At the top here there's a nice grip. This actually works pretty well. I don't find that my hand slides off this grip very easily, but you could consider having a different style of shovel like this. This is the Alligator Pro Light hoe, and this has a D-shaped handle at the top, so it's a lot easier for my hand to stay in contact with this shovel handle. And also this shovel has a hoe mode, so actually you can put the shovel on like this, and you can use the shovel kind of like digging into the snow in a hoe mode. So something to consider if you think that that's something that you might like or want or need. You could definitely end up getting this shovel instead. These two shovel blades are actually the same size, but this one just has that extra option of making it into a hoe. This is the bag that I'm using for backcountry skiing and ski mountaineering. This is the Rab Chroma 22, and it has a separate tool pouch on the front of it like this. So it has compartments here that have sleeves for different tools. So here, this is where I have my shovel handle, and it's very easy to just pull it out. There should be nothing that's kind of snagging it or getting stuck on. And then here is the shovel blade down like this. Now I tend to have it this way. I find that it kind of fits in the bag a little bit better. It doesn't really matter which way you have it in the bag, but just make sure that it's very easily accessible and there isn't anything else that's in there that's kind of getting snarled up on things. This is the probe that comes in the package. This is a 2.8 meter aluminium probe, and it should be really quick and easy for you to deploy that probe and pull the string and build that probe out. And this is again something that you'll learn and practice on an avalanche course. By the way, I'm running a whole bunch of courses in the Alps this winter, and I'm also getting some of my friends who are also guides to run courses on the Oak app as well. So if you're interested in these courses, you can join the group. I'll leave a link down in the description, and you should find all the ski courses that are being run on Oak down in there. Also, the probe will come in a protective sleeve like this. Now, it's designed that it should be pretty easy for it to come out of that bag quite quickly, but what I would say is I don't generally use that if I have those internal pockets in my bag. But it is definitely worth keeping hold of this in case you're going to be using your avalanche equipment in a backpack that doesn't have that kind of internal tool storage. So for example, in a climbing bag, you know, when I'm going ice climbing or something like that, I might not have those internal storage pockets, so I would use this sleeve. Not really much to talk about in terms of the shovel and probe. So once you've got it set up in the bag, it's time to kind of get out there and practice using it a few times so you're familiar with how it all works. But the most important thing in this box would be the Avalanche transceiver. So in here is the Barryvox S2, which is the newest and kind of latest and greatest Avalanche transceiver from Mammut. I've been using Mammut transceivers for the last 16 years and I can't fault them. I've been really happy with the performance, how they work, and rather than heading off into a different direction and using some other brand of transceiver, I'm just very happy to stick with these. You might have bought a different model of transceiver from a different company, but there's a lot of things that we'll talk about now which you will cross over to those other types of brands. So when you open the box like this, you'll notice that the device is here and you have a QR code that's stuck to the screen of this. Now this is for registering your Barryvox and extending it to a 3-year warranty, so it's definitely worth keeping hold of that sticker. So we'll take the transceiver out of the box, and there's also a warning label on the back of here, so we can take this one off after you've read it, of course. So on the back of the device there's a really clear and easy to read kind of search procedure. So it shows you kind of the whole way that you would search on the back of there, so it's a good aid memoir if you're out in the field and you've kind of forgotten what's happened on the Avalanche course that you did several years ago. It's good to have that information on the back of there. It's also got some numbers for rescue, so the SOS in Europe, for example, is 112, so if something happens, that would be the number that you call and that would get you to the right place. Now a little bit further into the box you'll find there's this short bungee like this, so if we take this one out, this is actually for tethering the beacon to you so you don't drop it whilst you're searching. So it's a really important thing that you add onto your device, and that means that you can't lose it whilst you're performing a rescue. So really easily this just posts through this like bottom hole here, and we put that through here like this. Basically it's got a clip on one end like this, and this is what's going to clip to the holster, or it's going to clip to a loop on the inside of your pant legs if you're going to be keeping your beacon on your thigh. We're going to talk a little bit more about that setup and why it's important towards the end of the video. So this bungee is retractable, so you can make it longer. So the idea is that when you clip it on, you can just pull it and it very easily extends out. And then when you want to put it away, you can basically just pull it and kind of like it sort of holds it a little bit shorter, so it's not kind of getting in the way too much. So the Mammut transceivers come with a couple of AAA batteries that you can use in the device, and these are two Duracell alkaline batteries. You can also use lithium batteries in these devices, and when you set the device up for the first time, it'll ask you which batteries that you're using in the device. So these simply just go in there into the right terminals, like so. All good. So now the device is ready to be turned on and set up. So the nice thing about these devices is that you can connect them with Bluetooth via the Barryvox app, which you can download from the App Store or from Google Play. And the way that we do this is we turn the device to send, which is the middle setting here. And for the first 90 seconds that the device is on, it will be flashing Bluetooth up here. So if I open the app like this, allow me to add this device. So here it's picking up this Barryvox S2, so I'm just going to hit connect and pair. Let's go ahead and open this one up, and it's asking me to register my Barryvox, so I'm going to get rid of that for now. And voice guidance feature available. I actually am interested in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for availability. The voice installed in your Barryvox does not match your selected language. Do you want to install the matching voice? Yes. So here it's just uploading the English voice onto the device. And now it's just rebooting, and it says that the voice update is complete. So now I've got voice guidance turned on. So that's quite a useful, neat feature on these new devices. You can actually have somebody telling you what to do as you're doing your search with the device. So that's a really nice thing to have turned on. If we go back here, you'll see there's also various things that you can configure. So you can see the firmware and if it needs updating. You can see the registration. It's not registered yet because I haven't done it, but it's pretty easy to do with that QR code. So at the moment I've got a standard 2-year warranty, and that would increase it to a 3-year warranty. Here in the configuration, there's various things here. So actually on this one, I'm going to turn the Pro search on, edit that one, view changes, and apply settings. There's also other things that you can turn on and off here on the device as well. So if you're actually practicing with the device and there's certain things that you don't like, you can actually go and change it in here before you disconnect. So you can also hit reinstall firmware. That could be a nice thing to do just when you start out with the device for the first time. Just let it do its thing and reinstall the firmware. So this is a nice feature about these devices, is you can update the firmware using your phone. It just means you don't have to send it off to Mammut to get the device reinstalled with its firmware. So it's just a really nice upgrade for these new devices. Also on the app there's a training section, so you can set up different training scenarios and you can go through different setups of how to do it. It can be really useful for like practicing out in the field after you've done your course. And then simply when you're finished with all the setup of the device, you just hit disconnect and then the device goes back into send mode and the Bluetooth is then turned off. So this is the holster that you can use to have it mounted onto your body. And there's pros and cons of having it on your body versus having it on your leg. Having it on your body like this, it's a lot more resistant to really violent avalanches, for example. Sometimes if you have an avalanche in your thigh pocket, there is a chance that it could get ripped out of there. Now having it in a holster like this, there's not really any way that that's going to happen. Basically with these holsters, you want it as close to you as possible, so I generally would have this over my base layer and then have my mid layer over the top. And that mid layer would provide protection if I'm climbing up. So again, this would go underneath my mid layer. I'm just showing you a demo on how it basically works. So here the black strap has gone over my shoulder and under my arm, so the device is kind of facing just a little bit to the side. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight, it's kind of sat just off to the side a little bit. And this bungee strap is what's going to go behind my waist like this, and then it's going to clip in there. When I pull this one tight, hopefully it's not going to be moving around too much, but it also doesn't need to be so tight that I can't breathe whilst I'm ski touring uphill, for example. This bungee is going to get clipped onto here, and there's only one way that this can go into the holster, and that is screen towards you and buttons facing up. So why is it like that? Well, we have the screen facing towards you because that protects it a little bit more. If we had the screen facing out, then it could kind of get damaged by sticks or something. So we want to have that screen facing towards us, and we want to have the buttons facing up. So when we have it in there, we can also have a visual check of whether it is in the right position. So there's 3 positions: off, send, and search, and you'll learn all about those on an Avalanche course. So this is how I would have my transceiver set up on my body when I'm backcountry skiing. Ideally, I'd have a layer over it at all times for uphill ski touring, but in some situations that might not be feasible. But something that's really worth considering with Avalanche transceivers is you can get what's known as electromagnetic or metallic object interference. So what does that actually mean? Well, basically, in essence, we need to keep electronic devices, big magnets or batteries or pieces of metal away from the transceiver at least 20 centimeters. So in all directions from the transceiver, there shouldn't really be any big metallic objects that could interfere with that signal being sent out. Also, when we have the device in search mode, we want to have those devices completely off and at least 50 centimeters away. So what kind of devices can actually interfere with a transceiver? So things like a smartwatch, certainly a mobile phone could interfere, action cameras, heated gloves, heated socks, all these types of things could definitely interfere with the signal that's being sent out from your transceiver. So we need to make sure that we're not covering it with any electronic devices that have batteries. The most common device that almost everybody has is a mobile phone. So make sure that you're not putting your mobile phone in your chest pocket, so it could be covering over the top of your transceiver. The best thing to do with your mobile phone is to switch it off and put it in your bag. But if, like me, you like to use it for navigation and taking photos, for example, then it is a good idea to have it in your thigh pocket and down like this, and away from the device at least 20 centimeters. Heated gloves are probably a real no-no for backcountry skiing, because when you're in search mode, having heated gloves on, it's not going to work as well. You're going to have to take those gloves off, get rid of them, and put a different set of gloves on to do the rescue, which is kind of impractical. Most people aren't going to remember to do that. I'm actually a big fan of using heated socks when I ski, so I have to be very aware that if I'm searching, I'm keeping the device away from my feet and away from my socks at least 50 centimeters. And if I can't do that, then I need to make sure that I take those batteries off and quickly put them in my bag. Having a chest-mounted action camera over the top of your device would be a real big no-no as well, so just make sure that you're not doing that. Now, a lot of folks actually like to keep their transceiver in their thigh pocket in their ski pants, like down here. Now, what I would say about that is you need to make sure that you have a specific setup in your ski pants to be able to do that. Inside of these rab pants, there is a mesh pocket like this, which is basically where the transceiver can sit into, and also there's a small loop here that I can clip this little clip onto, so I'm not going to lose it whilst I'm doing my search. The pros of having it set up on my leg like this is it's a lot easier to take out to do a group search in the morning, and I can literally just pull it out of my pocket and then I can put it back away and just get rid of that strap. So it's really nice and easy and convenient to take it out and to use it. What I would say though is that I need somewhere to put my mobile phone. Now, if I could put it in the other pocket, that would be ideal. But what I do find is with these ski pants that the phone generally twists over to the side and it feels a little bit kind of uncomfortable having it like that. So generally I like to have it in a chest pocket. Now this mid layer doesn't actually have a chest pocket for this phone, so I would have my phone in my outer layer in that chest pocket if I was having it set up like that. But for me, going back to what I was saying before, I actually prefer to have my beacon in that pouch up on my body and have my phone down here because I find it's much easier to get out and use to take a photo, for example. All I would say is I would encourage you to think about the setup that you're going to be using and think about where you're going to put your phone, where you're going to put your action camera, if you've got heated gloves, what you're going to do about that if you need to do a search, if you've got heated socks, how you're going to get those sock batteries off if you need to do a search, etc, etc, etc. Just think about not interfering with the signal that's being sent out by your transceiver. So that's a little introduction into the Avalanche safety equipment that you'll need for an Avalanche course. Now generally you can test these out first on the introductory course before you then have to head out and buy your own. So if you need to do that, then just make sure that you talk to the guide that's running it, and they should have some sets that you can use and try out. I'm pretty sure that if you turned up with this package though, which is the ProLite 280 package, any guide would be pretty happy that you've got a really good setup there and everything that you need to deal with avalanches. There's a lot more to learn about these devices, so for example, when to change the batteries, how to turn them on, how to use them in search mode, how to do multiple burials, all this type of stuff. So there's loads and loads to learn about these, but this is a really good starting point for heading out and doing one of those courses. So hopefully you found that video interesting. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers guys! Thank you.